Well, there's two kinds of developers in 2026, you know what I mean? Type 1, they learn from tutorials. They can follow instructions, but they get stuck the moment the instructions run out, bro. So, type 2, they learned from breaking things. You know, they read error messages, they built stuff nobody asked for at 2 a.m. They get stuck, they figure it out, and they move on. You know, AI makes type 1 faster, and it makes type 2 dangerous. But here's the difference, and here's why it matters more now than ever. When you learn to code by fighting it, you know, reading documentation when there's no tutorial, debugging when Stack Overflow, you know, without Stack Overflow, having your exact error, you build something tutorials can't give you, which is a mental model. And a mental model means you understand why the code works, not just what to type. So when something breaks, you have a framework for diagnosing it. And when the AI gives you 5 different answers, you know which one is wrong. So that's the difference between engineers and prompt engineers. Yeah, I'm gonna keep harping on prompt engineers because Jensen Huang was bigging y'all up, making y'all feel like y'all were the future. He's wrong. I'll put it plain and simple. He's wrong. Both prompt engineers and real engineers can produce code, right? They can both produce code that works. But only one of them can diagnose why it breaks at 3 a.m. when production is down and the model is confidently giving you the wrong fix. So Anthropic is the company that makes Claude, and it's one of the most capable AI coding tools available. You know, published research shows that even experienced developers using AI tools can only fully delegate 0 to 20% of their actual tasks. Okay, 0 to 20%. 0 to 20. That means 80% of the real work still requires human judgment, which is the architecture decisions, the security trade-offs, the edge cases that don't exist in the training data. You know, the moment where the spec doesn't match the system, and someone has to decide what the code should actually do. So MIT Media Lab published research on cognitive atrophy, which is the measurable loss of critical thinking capacity where humans, you know, outsource too much of the reasoning to AI. See, I need some water or something. What's going on? Developers who delegated their coding to AI produced working code but failed conceptual understanding. So they could run the tool, but they couldn't explain what the tool did. And here's the specific case that illustrates the ceiling clearly. Developers testing advanced AI coding agents found instances where the agent, under pressure to make tests pass, deleted the failing unit tests entirely. It didn't fix them, but it deleted them. And the system registered a pass. So the underlying logic was still broken. And if you don't know what correct code looks like, you would ship that. So here's the uncomfortable truth about AI coding tools. They make the ceiling higher and lower at the same time. Cursor and Augment are the tools I use on my code base. They make me faster, dramatically. For boilerplate, suggestions, pattern completion, catching the thing I just typed wrong, an experienced developer with AI is 2 to 3 times more productive. But they also make it easier to generate code you don't understand. You can build something that works until it does not work. And then when it breaks, you have no map for diagnosing it. So the reason these tools make me faster is because I've been building the mental models first. You know, courses that I can't shortcut. You know, late nights where I'm fixing stuff that's not documented, and then builds are failing because, I don't know, I gotta figure it out. There's no tutorial. There's no tutorial in life, but that foundation is what makes AI a multiplier. And without it, AI is just auto-completing problems you can't diagnose. So JetBrains makes some of the most widely used developer tools in the world. They publish research on this directly. So the more of a beginner you are, the less you should use AI to generate code for you. The foundational layer has to be built through struggle. Skip it, and every harder concept you encounter later is structurally more difficult to understand. I use Cursor daily, and I use Augment for architectural context across the full code base. But I know what correct looks like before I ask the tool to generate it. So that filter, which is knowing what correct looks like, is earned, and it doesn't come from prompting or prompt engineering. So I'm building this from Bridgeport. I'm gonna bring my city into this, you know. No boot camp, no computer science mentor, you know, no tech scene. Western Governors University online school. You know, I work shifts at Whole Foods. You know, I built software in the hours between. And I learned the code the hard way, not because I chose difficulty for its own sake, but because I didn't have, another option. I really don't. I'll fail all these courses if I don't actually master it. Yeah, I just burped in your ear. Documentation, error messages, failed builds, and whatever I could figure out from first principles. And that constraint is actually the asset. Because the problems you can't look up, which are the ones you have to sit with until you understand them, they're the ones that build the judgment that makes you hireable, fundable, and effective. So Builder.ai marketed itself as a revolutionary AI-powered no-code builder. They raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Then it came out that they were secretly using human developers behind the scenes and inflating their revenue numbers to investors. Their company collapsed. So the lesson isn't just that fraud fails. I would hope that you would know that. Fraud fails. Stop being fucking fraud. The lesson is that the market always finds the difference between actual craft and the appearance of craft. So it might take 2 years, but it will find it. And, building in public, doing it the hard way, showing your work, that's not nostalgia for a pre-AI era. That's the positioning that survives when this hype corrects. So the question is not whether to use AI. Use it. Use it every day. It's an incredible tool. The question is whether you've built the brain that knows when that tool is wrong. And if you want automation built by someone who did it the hard way, someone who can explain every line, document it, and hand it to you knowing that it runs, DM me. I'm Kai from Bridgeport. This is the Sovereign Architect. And as always, I'll see y'all next time.